Yo, yo. What is up? Can you hear me? Mic check. Mic check 1 2. Are you seeing these images? Can you see those clouds? Welcome back to another edition of the Fake Truth Show. I guess you can't see those clouds because I'm on the wrong screen, doing that super screen of death thing here. Now you should be able to see the clouds. These beautiful clouds. These are clouds of the day. These are the day clouds. This is actually shortly before sunset. Just trying to get the time lapse going again, and some fascinating details you can notice here. It's a little hard to tell when it's just straight up at this. This is every half second. This time lapse, and then it really is hard to track. Really the major changes in what's actually going on here. And so in this next clip, but check that out. You see the plane? You see the plane go by? It did not leave a trail. It did not leave any sort of trail. It just kind of zoomed across the sky. Trailless. Just zooming. See this little leading edge here? All right. So, what is it now? It's the next day. It's the day of the what? The 5th? No, it's the 6th already. Jesus, I can't even keep track of this kind of stuff. So I got that was the original clip that I showed at the beginning, and here it is sped up 1,000 times. So I'm not a math genius, but sped up quite a few fasters. And it's not, it's not all day. This was maybe just a couple hours before sunset, and we can sort of watch it get darker and darker. I think I have to set the exposure to a locked exposure, because that's what's causing possibly this flickering effect that's as we go into darkness, the evening time, chaos. Because that might not actually be some simulator malfunctioning. Might just be the camera and the exposure levels. But fascinating nonetheless. Undulations you can kind of witness here. See those shadows that are going across? See those shadows? Isn't that amazing? I'm not really sure where that would come from. Shoo. And different types of clouds. You see these different layers here, and these they just start to appear, spontaneously, almost just right there. Isn't that amazing? It's like there's nothing, and then it just generates out of the sky, right? And then we have another layer moving quicker. And then there definitely was a period of nothing going on. And you can see, that makes sense to me, this sort of generating, depending on the changes in temperature up there, that these clouds could be generated spontaneously. And then just some little flickers of planes going by. And some hard edges, some interesting shapes. The more you watch these, the more you can sort of pattern recognize and find stuff. But, again, it is that classic confirmation bias dilemma, as I like to call it. But let's move on to some other pictures that I got turned today. It was, in general, just a pretty cloudy, little sprinkles. There's threats of rain happening tomorrow, but again, just some more actual, real live clouds out there, which is always refreshing. I would say, refreshing. Very refreshing. Let's see if I can ripple delete and not run my own timeline. And it's not gonna let me do that. So I'm gonna try. No, it's not gonna let me do that either. What if I ripple cut? And then we can go on to the exit image. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Right, so it was a very thicker layer here. You see just a standard shot of, what was going on. And all day, basically, this sort of more realistic looking actual clouds that you see. There's a right rough and tumble and something you would draw actually, with a pencil maybe even actually uh shade the bottom or something. But clouds. But it's interesting to me that there is this sort of cloud layer, and then up above this just thick. It's thick. You can't. It's an impermeable. This thick, just kind of soup that you see floating around up here. So I don't know what you want to make of that. This sort of multi-tiered. Obviously, there's going to be different atmospheric things happening at different levels at different times under different conditions. But I still find this interesting to have this sort of, it's almost like a blue screen, like a backdrop color that is not the sky, and then you have these other clouds in front. Oh, a super ripple deleted. That's not what I wanted to do. This is just a sad piece of news. Yet again, another confused animal that I found. This mouse was just totally wrecked. It was in our house, and I don't think it ate any poison. It didn't really do anything like that. But it was, just like that skunk from last week or 2 weeks ago. It was totally disoriented, could not react. Maybe it had eaten something bad. Maybe it was starving. Maybe a million things. But just this bizarre sort of confusion that it seemed like it didn't seem aggressive or any of those things. It was just unable to walk, really. Very, very similar behavior to the skunk that I witnessed a couple days ago, but still sad to see nonetheless. Now, what do we got here? Is this a video? Yeah. So I thought this was this has just been an interesting story. We're waiting to hear from this black hole, if we're going to get this black hole imagery out. And, a lot of people on the internet saying either, I'm excited about this, or there's no way this is real. This is like a mega hoax. Like, you can't image black holes, and this is just like a whole big fat lie. Tons of articles you can see here all about the black hole imagery. But it's interesting, they built up all this hype and then still pushed it back. So I guess we're waiting till next week to get this picture, but they've generated an insane amount of media about this event, and I hope it comes soon, Wednesday, April 10th. So now we're waiting a couple days to see if this actually shows up. So but interesting with the timing, I think, because dates and times, it all means it's a lot of, it's very important dates and times. So interesting that they set the date and then they pushed it back. That's all I think. It's there's got to be something there, basically, because they time everything out. Timing is key AF. So and let's just run through some of these images. These are from the day before. I was trying to do my stream and it totally got cut off, but it looks like it's working now. This is from yesterday, the 4th. Right, the 4th of the 4th, and it was a much different situation. You see this much more wispy. This seems like this is a more artificial sort of style compared to, I don't know if I can pull it out, but those much more fluffy clouds that we were having today, right? Much more sort of traditional. This is more like that, like stage fog or smoke or something. It just seems like it's a way different consistency. It's just nothing I sort of remember from back in the day. And then this was also the look. This was yesterday. But again, much different than today. Today was much more that there's thick clouds in the front, and then more of a green screen kind of blackout behind. This is much more sort of thick, long layers of right, sort of like a ceiling that's floating by, which I think is pretty interesting as well. Over here, let's see what else we got from yesterday. All right, this isn't an exact science. This is just a beautiful image. I don't know if you can see what's going on here, but it's just a beautiful I don't know what this is. Trash. Thank you, Trash. This video brought to you by Trash. So there's just a, helicopter passing over by overhead. There's been a lot of just air traffic. It's hard to know what is special air traffic, what is not special air traffic, but been seeing a lot of, black helicopters, police helicopters, and this is a relatively, out of the way area. So for them to be flying through here, I guess it would be in transit between the different areas here in LA. Right, I'm not in the city where they'd be like looking for somebody or something. This is them, going on a journey in their helicopter, and so there must be sort of a specific reason why, or what they're looking for, or it's hard to say. I've definitely had some better footage in the past of the air traffic, and I don't know. I just keep looking up and trying to see what's going on up there. That was yet another thing that was happening. Some serious air traffic going down. Yeah. So, but that's enough. That's enough of that kind of sky pictures. I want to play this clip because I thought it was interesting. This guy, what's his name? Mind Unveiled, is working on. Doing some pretty interesting videos, but for the skeptics out there, when it's interesting to see these sort of normie type people do accounts of really paranormal and weird stuff, because often people like this, you can see it on their face, like they wouldn't have the wherewithal to fabricate something like this. They wouldn't be like capable of that, and that's why I always like listening to these sort of firsthand accounts to see. Always look for the truth, and it seems like this is really a place where they did find some weird skeletons and giants here in this cave. So let me just play this clip.
But then they made some very unusual discoveries, and those were of red-haired giants that were mummified. These giants were 6.5 to 7 feet tall. In many cases, they were mummified, wrapped up like Egyptian mummies, and they had long red hair going down to their shoulders. The ranchers couldn't explain it. It was the strangest thing they'd ever seen. But the Paiute Indians who lived around here knew all about it. In fact, back in 1883, Sarah Winnemucca, a Paiute Indian princess, had written a book called Life Among the Paiutes. In that book, she talked all about the giant, red-haired people who used to live around this lake and live in this cave. She claimed they were cannibals.
That tribe would eat the...
Right, pretty nuts, I would say. This guy is just, it's like some local guy. Like, why would he come up with this? And I guess they found the mummies, and I mean, I've seen some of those mummies. They got the red hair. They look a little fake. Maybe fake, maybe not, but I still thought this was fascinating. This guy just talking about giants, and this other lady finding the giants. There's maybe somebody else made it up, but definitely this guy definitely didn't like make it up. And this lady didn't really either. I don't think so. But I thought that was interesting too. What else do I got here on the docket today?
Necrotizing geriatric
Oh, well, I've been making a video on that because I am now too terrified to show anything that is not easily available for free on the internet. If anything has been from a major network, it seems like they with good reason have their content ID totally locked in. So I'm gonna save the sort of media analysis for other videos that I can make, and because then you won't lose this whole stream. Basically, I played a little clip of that yesterday, and then that blocked the whole video in America. So I think it's better to just try and get those videos out on their own in separate videos, and not because then you don't get to see these cool time lapses, which are definitely not under copyright. I just made these. These are mine. You can copy them if you want to copy them. That's fine with me too. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna save that stuff for later. So, but we can get into some news. Let me see what I was saving here. Sponsored. Okay, so right in the theme of all this 5G internet space mobile. All right, and this I thought was very interesting too. Before we get into Amazon's giant mesh net, I thought this was very interesting. Verizon turns on its 5G networks in Chicago, Minneapolis a week early. So again, with all this date stuff, dates matter. Dates are important, and dates are sort of planned out long in advance. And here's yet another story. There's been a lot of discussion back and forth. Can we get this 5G going? Can we get it out in time? Are we going to beat China? Are we going to get Huawei involved? Maybe. 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 But what I thought is interesting here is that they're rolling out this 5G a week early, basically. I know they've been working on the infrastructure everywhere, and it's just a massive build out, and there can't be that many places that are really set up for this quite yet. But apparently it's working in Chicago, and but only in certain places, right? You'll find 5G signal in the downtown area. Also be available around landmarks, the convention center, the Commons, and the Verizon store, right? And that's what I've seen, at least around here in LA, is that at the airport, a big sort of big spots. That's where you see the small cells already going up, but everywhere else, well, the small cell build out is happening very quickly. But obviously, your new 5G phone is only going to work anywhere where the build out is actually happening. And I guess they're racing to get this thing done, but it's hard to say if they're going to get it done in time or not. That is the big question. For the pole shift, for the other I don't know, exploding giant monster catastrophes that are probably coming down the pike, that they need that 5G in place to properly mind control us, I guess. So, as with all these things, very curious to see where this goes. But again, just the timing, I thought very interesting. A week early. But let's go back to this other article. And this is just, more just Amazon propaganda, basically. How awesome they are. But they have this plan to launch these satellites, thousands of them. And I was curious to look through and see what kind of signal will be coming through here, at least. But as with everything today, this is a very cursory, sort of low info article. Right, but all of these satellites are going up, 300 miles, 370 miles, 390 miles. Together, these satellites should cover roughly 90% of Earth's population. So, right, this is supposed to be internet for literally everybody. But why would they be sending this up if we're doing this 5G thing? And this 5G thing is this, just seriously monster infrastructure build out where these small cells need to be every 500 feet. And I heard somebody else making this point. It's a very valid point of if we could put them in satellites, if we can have them up in the sky and have these signals go 300 miles, then why don't we just do that? Why do we have to put all this infrastructure all over the city? And according to all accounts, the the millimeter waves, they're not going to be able to travel that far. They're not going to be able to come all the way from space. So what kind of internet are we talking about here, Amazon? Like, this is probably, I don't know, LTE level, sort of slower, longer things. Um, and I remember the same story going down with Facebook. Facebook was going to try to like launch some sort of free uh, satellite-based internet, especially for Africa, so everybody could get on the internet there. But it was going to be all throttled, and basically like at some hotel, like give you a gateway where you can only go on Facebook and other sort of approved websites and areas of the internet. And everything will sort of be curated by the company that's providing you with the internet. And then there was such huge backlash that they seemed to back down and moved away from it. So it's again very interesting to see Amazon pushing through with this. I don't know if it's gonna, right. And again, there's just not very much information here. You can check out this original GeekWire. And Amazon is joining the race to provide broadband internet access around the globe, right? And it's just this endless sort of march toward this everything connected, everything surveilled, and then that's, I mean, yeah, I gotta put out this video that I was just working on, but that's exactly what they're talking about in American Gods, and obviously in many other. Right, and just read through this. Starlink broadband, 12,000 satellites in low Earth orbit. Broadband satellites, and that's really my question. Like, if we honestly can get broadband from if we can honestly get broadband from a satellite that's 300 miles up, why would we possibly need small cells? Why would that build out need to be happening? But I guess it depends on the device. It depends on a bunch of different things. There's definitely, supposedly an insane amount of satellites flying around up there, and it's all sort of cool, and you can send cars up and not worry about messing with those satellites too much. And they don't know if Blue Origin, his company's going to get a jump on that or not. Hard to say, right? Some other things I've been tracking though. Politics are so stupid, but it's been amazing to watch everybody scramble to try to defend Joe Biden for his I like this phrase, tactile politics. He's got tactile politics, and I guess you can call it that. But and it's a really long article here from the LA Times explaining everything, why it's okay. He's a truly decent and compassionate man. This guy is just a fantastic guy. He can manage his zeros, but he is who he is. He can discipline himself to some degree, but you're not going to put this guy in a straitjacket, right? Sort of being like, maybe it's weird. Maybe you think it's weird. If you think it's weird, that's kind of weird of you and like unaccepting. And this guy is just a generally fantastic guy. So we should just let him, you should just let him be him. You should just let him be him. Decency. And that keeps coming up, from all sorts of different articles, and they're all sort of circling around each other. Is this is a piece in the Atlantic, and it's referencing the Washington Post, and then the Washington Post references the New York Times article, and it's all just kind of circles around. But they make the case like he's, obviously a good guy. He's not sexualizing these kids in any way, and he just likes hanging out with these little kids. She's not uncomfortable. She likes it. She thinks it's cool to hang out with Uncle Joe. And I don't think you should care about this, right? I, for one, admire Biden's deviant decency, right? And so you have basically everybody coming to his defense. Um, and it ties into so many things, including normalizing these kinds of long-term relationships. They do seem happy together. Well, at least he seems happy. She's looking at the camera, I guess, but it's again, in the spirit of fake truth. What is this guy's truth? What is his real thought here about this? Why is he pointing his finger down? What's his deal here? Is it true? Is it not true? Why are they defending him? Why, if there wasn't something to defend, then what would the big deal be? Fascinating story here, I would say. How is this even possible? Apparently, screen time, even before bed, has little impact on your well being. All of those things you were worried about, EMF radiation, blue light, circadian rhythms, patterns, all that kind of stuff, you were just being stupid, basically, because they did this big study and they collected data from 17,000 teenagers, right? 17,000. And they proved without a shadow of doubt that, right, the notion of spending time online, gaming, or watching TV, especially before bedtime, can damage young people's mental health. Because it's, right, a lot of parents and other people are always talking about, should you give the kid the iPad, should you not give the kid the iPad? This is, I don't know, pretty frustrating, I think, just reading this, because, right, it shows that you can make a study, and if you focus it narrowly enough, you're definitely going to get the results that you want. And I was trying to see where this study actually came from, because, right, who's footing the bill for this kind of thing? Because it's a very favorable outcome for tech companies, for other sort of tech-minded individuals, that they can now point to this study. They studied almost 20,000 teenagers and found out that having your face glued to the screen 24/7 is not a problem. This is actually like a pretty good thing. You should just let your kids have more screen time and let them have it earlier. Actually, it could be good for them. Actually, the more screen time they put in, not impacting, social behaviors or any of that. You can't really point to any sort of other studies talking about interaction and teen pregnancy going down, and just general sort of malaise that is I guess maybe that's the problem, is that it's a sort of more of a philosophical, slow, mental hollowing out that we're experiencing, that would really be hard to study, or put into a study. Like, people's attention spans getting shorter, and just their ability to process complex thought. I know I can feel it in my own mind. It's impacted by this culture, and especially by the screen time, and the multitude of screens, right? It's not just one screen anymore. You got a lot of screens in your life. I'm sure you do. Right, but again, we got this study here, and the study says it's all chill. Like, don't worry, bro. You can screen time for days, screen time as much as you possibly can. The research found that adolescents' total screen time per day had little impact on their mental health, both on weekends and weekdays. It also found that the use of digital screens 2 hours, 1 hour, or 30 minutes before bedtime didn't have clear associations with decreases in adolescent well-being, even though this is often taken as a fact by media reports and public debates. Right? So this is, again, why do they even write articles? Why do they do studies to shift the window, to shift public opinion in a certain way for a certain group of people? It's just like that Joe Biden article. Here's the thing that is sort of generally believed, or felt, or talked about, or thought, and That is not cool. That is not cool. We should not be thinking that, because it's just not the truth. And even though it feels right, even though it sort of seems like, yeah, exact, like duh, like Joe Biden's like into groping people, especially younger women. Like duh, that's like, we all know that. Then obviously you're gonna have to paper everything with articles, and the people that read it and really take it to heart might change their mind about Joe Biden and be like, well, maybe it's chill, maybe it's fine. And the same with this type of study saying that screen time totally chill. You're gonna up your screen time anyways, and then your future with all this awesome 5G that's coming down the pike. So you better just prepare your eyeballs, but don't worry, because the more screen time the better, is basically what this article is saying. Video games, and it doesn't really matter, smartwatch. If you're watching the news, it just, none of that has any noticeable effect. But if I was more prepared, I would pull out all these other studies talking about EMF radiation affecting blah de blah nervous system over and over again, and how that's all coming. Obviously, with the 5G, going to be a lot more invasive. Right, so, but it's coming out of Oxford, so you better goddamn believe it. Researcher at the Oxford Internet Institute. Right, so there's no way that you'd have to look them up. Oxford Internet Institute, are they getting paid off by telecom? Do they have any sort of, where's their funding coming from? Because this just seems bizarre. It seems bizarre to me. That's where we might leave it for now. I got another story here about BMW being sketchy, but we'll leave that for another day. It's just pretty exhausting out there, I guess I would say, top to bottom. But it's not going to stop us, right? We gotta just keep going. We gotta just keep pushing on through like these clouds. There's no stopping time or giving up at this point. But I don't know. It's interesting to think. It's interesting to try to formulate your ideas and see if you can actually make sense of what you're looking at day in, day out. Are you really noticing what's going on in these images? Is this something? Are you appreciating this? What you're seeing? Do you understand even what you're looking at? That's. I'm trying to get to the bottom of all that. Keep it real, guys.